Hi, and welcome to Safe Space. I'm your host, the artistic psychologist. This podcast aims to end the stigma surrounding mental health, one conversation at a time. Welcome, and I hope you enjoy. Today I have Naweks and Waksy on the show. They are sisters, and the two are my cousins. My sisters, actually. How are you feeling, ladies?
I'm good. I'm actually really excited to be here. I've been wanting to be one of your guests for like forever. So this is a dream come true for me.
How are you doing, Waksy?
I'm
You have been
good.
here before.
Yeah, I've been here before, so I can I have an idea of what to expect. But we'll see, because the topic is quite different.
Yeah.
It is. We're talking about deep stuff. So today Naweks and Waksy are going to share with me and with you, the listeners, their journey in grieving their dad, who passed away last year in September. And the loss of a loved one is not an easy thing to talk about for anybody. And so I just want to begin by expressing my gratitude to you ladies for doing this with me.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Truly.
Like, it makes just being able to talk about it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Okay then. To begin, could you tell us about your father? How would you describe him as a person, as a father?
Okay. Super happy-go-lucky kind of guy. Very thoughtful, very kind, so intelligent. Yeah, I think those are the things that come to me at the moment. I don't know, Makoya.
For me, it was just he was alive. I know that's a strange thing to say, but he was so colorful. It's like he filled up the whole room without trying. And he lived life to the fullest. When I think about that phrase, I think about him first. There was never any doubt about who he was. He was always just himself all the time, which is such a blessing to have in your life. Yeah.
Okay, I agree.
And also, like,
that's what he was.
you'd never have to question what position you took in his life.
Mm.
And he had the ability to have like intimate relationships with everyone,
Exactly.
which is so, because usually, at least from my experience, what I've seen is sometimes people will have the same thing to say about someone, but for him it's like he had intimate relationships with everyone, so they'd have like their own stories.
Yeah.
Including his kids.
Yeah.
So just deep, wholesome relationships all around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Okay. So what was your relationship like with your dad? I'm sure maybe it's different for the both of you.
So they say. Apparently, I was daddy's girl. Apparently, I don't know.
She was.
I don't know. But the story goes that I was. He was just my guy. Like, he was my friend. We would have. It was always interesting to talk to him, because then we would do like these fights, but it was kind of fun for the both of us. And then it would take this turning where it would be like deep and thoughtful, and I didn't realize how important it was until now. I started making close friendships with guys, and then I started to see just how hard it is for guys to just be vulnerable and to be honest about how they feel, because I'd grown up in a house where my dad just says, like, he just talks about his feelings.
Yeah.
You know, he just does. He just talks about his feelings. And you're able to just talk. You're able to just talk with this person. And so it's probably the best relationship I've ever had with anyone. Probably, actually.
Okay, that's beautiful. Waksy.
For me, he was the good cop in terms of my parents for a long time. And because as a teenager, I would have a lot of conflict with my mom. Now that I'm older, I understand we are different in many ways, but also alike in more than one way. And so he was the guy who helped me understand my mom. He was that for me for a long time. And then when I became closer with my mom, he became my guy, my friend. Same thing as Naweks, we would have these, no, I would do it. Please, Daddy, just do it. But it was kind of like play fighting. It was never a serious thing because my dad didn't hold grudges. It was very hard to get him angry, actually. So it evolved from him being the good cop to just him being a friend, a sounding board, the funniest storyteller you will ever have in your life.
You get that from him, Waksy. Waksy is also a great storyteller.
Yeah, I hear that a lot, and I'm always like, Dad was the best. Because he would tell stories to the point where he's imitating.
So good.
So, I think, to be honest, growing older made me appreciate both my parents more as people. So, yeah, we just had our own thing, just the way Naweks and him had their own thing, my brother and him, my youngest sister and him. So we all saw the same sides, but we all also saw different sides, if that makes any sense. Yeah.
Okay. So your situation was unique because your dad passed away at home as you were all trying to give him first aid and help him. Yeah. It wasn't really a situation where someone came and told you like, hey, your dad has passed away. You were there when it happened. Do you remember those moments as you were trying to help him and the moment you realized he had passed away?
I remember everything. I remember everything about that day. And I'm sure she does too. But the interesting thing is, because I came in later on, like my sister had been there and my mom basically from the beginning. Because it was just a normal day. Like, it was just a normal day with my dad. Like a couple of hours before, we'd been cracking jokes, because I used to like make fun of him. So I tell him, Dad, you're eating like a toddler. And then he'd just be laughing. So I remember dropping that joke that morning. It's just like, So, it was just normal. And then I think about like 10:30, I noticed that there was like a shift in the environment. And then, because I had my mom, first of all, on a call, calling an ambulance. And because my dad had diabetes, so I kind of figured, maybe it's something to do with dad. But I didn't think it was anything serious. And then I tried calling my sister, and she was like, hey, not now. And her tone of voice, she's never ever used that tone of voice in me, ever. So I knew something was going on. And so by the time I walked into the scene, my mom was just trying to resuscitate my dad. He was unconscious. My sister was also helping. I somehow was on phone duty, so I was like making calls, answering calls. And then, I just remember watching, like literally just watching the life leave. And at some point he just wasn't breathing, and so I knew, maybe it's because I watched too many of those like doctor medical shows, but I knew at some point he'd stopped breathing for long enough that there's no way he was coming back. And so, but then I didn't even have time to kind of process that, because then it's like, okay, so now what do we do next? Yeah, because we're all at home. And so it was just trying to figure out, okay, because we had to wait on someone to call officially time of death, because we don't have the qualification to do that. So it was just kind of trying to sort all of that out, getting the hearse moving. Then, what was once my dad now is a body, essentially. And so just like moving that out of the house. And and that was just like my new life now. That was it. And so I don't know about.
Yeah, mine was a little bit
but,
different. I kind of knew my mom needed me to help. So I went into a mode where I was just like, okay, I need to hold him up. My mom needs to administer CPR. I can't think about anything else. Because if I do, I'm going to drop this guy. So I was holding him, and even by the time they called it, because it was our aunt who came, and I looked at her, and I think that was the moment, because she had been crying. And yeah, that was the moment where I was like, okay, this ish is real. I'm trying not to curse. And so as when she came in, it's kind of like I allowed myself to think, okay, now he's gone. And one of the initial thoughts was, I'm going to have to deal with this as I go. I don't have any other option but to deal with this as it goes. And then I think one of our other aunts came in a little bit later, and I think I saw her, and she hugged me and she said, it's okay. And then that's when I just bawled my eyes out. I went outside. At some point I was sitting in the grass. I was talking to one of my dad's sisters, and I just remember telling her, how am I supposed to live this life without how I couldn't imagine a life without him in it. And yeah, so mine was a little bit different. I went into autopilot immediately because I knew mom needs me to help her. Like, I can't think of anything else, nothing. If I do, I will not be able to do this. So autopilot up until now people started coming in, and then I could just finally, I could really feel that this person is not there anymore. Yeah, so for me it was a little bit different. I think we switched in that sense, because you went into like dealing, you felt, and then you were like, we need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Yeah. Mine was the opposite. I was like, we need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then I finally was like, oh God, this has happened. So yeah.
You said all of you were at home at the time, right? Yeah. Do you think that was comforting in a sense that you were all there rather than hearing it from somebody else?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Like and even now when I reflect on it, I'm so grateful, because knowing the person that he was and how much he loved us and how much he loved home, there's no other way I don't think he would have preferred to go. Like, he left with his people.
Yeah.
You know, he left in the arms of the woman he loved the most. So I'm a bit of a romantic, so. No, so for me, that's
romantic
just...
watches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so like I think he went the way he would have wanted to go. I think even for us, the way, I mean, of course we didn't want him to go, but the way in which he went, yeah, I'm so grateful for that.
I agree. I think even for my mom, she keeps saying which is a strange thing for most people, but just the fact that he went the way he did and she was there, because my mom is a very much like, I need to be there to know you're okay. I need to be there to know you're not okay. I think because it happened so quickly, and finding out he passed from a coronary and he didn't clutch at his heart, like those things, and knowing him and knowing he didn't like pain, he didn't like to suffer, it gave me some comfort. I think it gave all of us a bit of comfort, which is a strange thing to many people, but I think he would have been miserable being in hospital, to be honest.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Waksy, you're the firstborn. Naweks, secondborn. You have 2 younger siblings, yeah? Were they at the scene? Or how did that go then, telling them what had happened on that day?
It's interesting.
Hard.
It's interesting because we kind of found out in order, because it was like my mom.
Yeah.
And then she called me. So my room is right next to the bathroom, and he passed away in the bathroom. So she called me, and I immediately, I just didn't hesitate. I went. I don't know. Usually I'm just like, oh, mom. But yeah, our brother, because at some point I remember trying to get him out of his room. He was doing something and his room was locked. So he found out.
I had to tell him, which was like the worst. It was the worst news to break, because I don't know, I guess in that moment, it's like I realized, oh yeah, like he's my baby brother. Like this is my baby brother and I have to tell him this. How am I going to tell him this? And I had like these flashbacks because my brother and I, our age difference is 2 years. It's quite small. And so growing up, we've grown up together in many ways. And I remember just having this, because when we were young, maybe kindergarten, we used to live in Rongai. And we used to be dropped off at this petrol station, and then we would wait for our house help who would now take us to the house. And I remember just having this vivid image of just like the 2 of us, like we're just kids. And I had to tell him. And he just broke down. And I remember my heart broke. I was like, I can't believe what's happening right now. He just broke down. He was in shock. He couldn't believe it. And for some time, because at some point we had the body wrapped, and I remember the saddest thing I've ever seen was just him holding my dad and just crying. I was like, what is this? Like, what's happening right now? How is this happening right now? How is this our life now? Like, how is this a memory that I have in my head right now? And then
so oversight, we didn't tell my youngest sister. She came to the conclusion. So this, when we went to therapy, so I found this out.
Is she 10?
She's 12 now, but she was, And I think because we were all reacting and we all assumed the other person was going to tell her, no one did. And so this is something that came out when she was having her therapy. So I was the one who was taking her. And she was like, no one told me, I just found out. And the first thing I did is I looked at her and said, I'm so sorry. We should have told you. And I could tell from how she was expressing herself that she wishes someone would have told her and had been with her. And that just broke my heart. I was like, it was hard enough to lose our dad. Not to have sat down with her to tell her was... If there was one thing I could have done differently, it would have been that I would have told her. And so from that moment, I've tried to include her as much as possible. So when she said she wanted some things of my dad's, we gave her some like clothing articles, some things. But it's something that for sure I would do differently. Because she basically pieced 2 and 2 together, and she was like, "Oh, this has happened." And I think she might have seen the body being moved. Yeah.
Wow, it's so weird, the body. Yeah, still so weird.
Would you describe that moment, seeing your dad die, as traumatizing in any way? Do you think it affected your sleep?
That's a good question.
The first night was the hardest, at least for me. I kept on going into like this panic state. God, Daddy, and I just kept on saying that over and over and over and over and over again until the sun came up, and then the next day. But then after that, I was just able to sleep. I don't know whether traumatic would be the word to describe it. I think, I don't know whether traumatic would be the word, because I've had what I think are traumatic experiences, and it wasn't like that. It was more maybe shocking than anything else. It felt more like a jolt, like, oh, okay, like this life just comes and goes, just like that. So I don't think traumatic would be the word I would use.
How about you, Waksy?
Mine was, again, different from yours. Me, I just wanted to sleep and never wake up.
That's another kind of response,
I was just like,
though.
this, my world has ended. I was like, this is the end. Take me. So mine was a little bit different. I do catch myself. I was like, I just felt like my world has ended with my dad. Now what I'm feeling in terms of, I think the trauma is coming out in terms of like, I'm a little bit paranoid when my mom is not in the house. Like, I'm just like, she's my only parent. I'm kind of, I panic about things I didn't used to panic about. Or if she's gone to her friends, I'll casually call, but I'm really just like, is she alive? Like, just those things. When my brother is out, sometimes I'm just, it's like in my head, I'm suddenly aware anything can kill you. Mm-hmm. So it's not as severe as it was, let's say 9 months ago, but it's definitely there a lot, more than it was, if it was ever there before we lost my dad. So it's just those things of like, if people are not in the house, I'm kind of not settled, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that just, it really awakens some awareness in you that was not there before. You're like, oh my God, somebody could die right now. And then, and before you didn't think about
that's
that.
That's how we watched it, because it was alive.
Yeah.
That just, yeah.
So after that, of course, there's the whole planning for the funeral, sorting out his stuff, all of that. How was that for you guys?
God, honestly, I checked out. I checked out so quickly. I checked out. I was just doing what needed to be done, and then my day would be over. Planning the funeral, at least for me, it wasn't that hard, because I was detached from the whole situation. I had my own moments when I would just cry. So I cry in the shower. I'm like, everybody comes. Shower cries are the best. If you are ever to rate cries, I would recommend shower cries. Okay, so I would just do that, because I don't feel comfortable crying in public. I don't like it. I don't like how all the attention is suddenly on you. So, I'd cry in the shower. Sometimes I'd cry early in the morning before guys came in. And then my day would just continue. Like, I was basically just sleepwalking. So arranging the funeral wasn't that hard. The day of was horrible, but arranging it was not hard. Even going through his stuff. The funny thing I've found, at least for me, is it's almost kind of reassuring. It's like, wow, like this guy was real and he was all of these amazing things, and it's almost like you still get to experience a part of him, even if he's not like here, but you still get to like, oh, okay, like seeing his handwriting, because he used to write, especially if I was going to be late or if I wasn't going to school, he used to be the one to write my notes and then he would sign it. So whenever even I see his signature, I'm like, oh yeah, like it's for me, it's such a reassuring thing just seeing. And I love his shirts, so I was always wearing his shirts and his socks. So it's always like a reassuring thing for me. Yeah, but the day of, it was hell. It was really, really hell. Yeah.
Again, opposite. So because she checked out and my mom checked out, I had to now be the one, together with my dad's siblings, to organize funeral things, like make sure things were happening, what was his best verse, like what were his hymn songs, or like just I had to be the one, to the point where I had to pick like the site for where he was going to be buried. I went with my brother. I'm going to be honest, I was drinking the whole time. I had bless my friend. I had a bottle with us, like it has a straw thingy where and so I would just have juice, gin. So that whole time we were being visited and things had to be done, I was drinking the whole time. I'm not going to even lie. So it was, in a way, it helped me sleep, deal, organize. Burial was also super hard. But I think after we buried him was when I was like, okay, I have to stop. I completely stopped drinking. I was aware that this is where the hard work begins, because now you don't have outside noise. Opposite as well, the whole thing for his stuff, I just was like, I can't believe we're sharing this. I just kept thinking, I can't believe this is happening. How is Naweks distributing his books? What is wrong with this girl? So there's a bit of conflict there because it comforted her to distribute his stuff, like his books. We've not gotten to the point where we have really distributed clothes. She will take his shirt sometimes and his socks, but we've not really. For me, it was just like a reminder that he wasn't there. So for a long time, I didn't even look at the program. I've just now started. So it was hard for me. It would make me upset that the world was going on and like nothing had happened. So for me, it was quite the opposite. I had to get him, we had to get him buried. And then it was like the silence, he's not there. Oh my God, he's not there. So I coped through those, because there was I think a 2-week interval between when he passed and when he was buried, because we were waiting for some relatives to fly back in. And with COVID, there was all of that stuff. That interval of having visitors, organizing, I had my gin and juice and I had to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Finished, wasn't ready to deal with his stuff. Yeah.
That's interesting, because both of you lost the same person, but the way you deal is completely different. You both mentioned the burial was the hardest part. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
God. Okay, so his body was at KU and his home is in Nyeri. So we went to KU to get the body. And then I remember everything was fine because we were still able to view the body at that point. And then it was the point at which I really just hit a breaking point was when they were moving casket. The casket into
the coffin.
Yeah, the coffin, that they were moving it into the van that was going to now drive down to Nyeri. And I remember seeing, because it was his brothers and my brother, they were carrying it. And I remember just looking at my bro carrying it and feeling like this was a symbolic moment. Like this, his son, he's carrying his body. And I just started crying. And then luckily the people around me, you, Sophia, hey, mlinishikilia too. And then I remember at some point my sister walked out. And of course those hymns, so of course, yeah.
So I felt the same. It was difficult for me that moment as well, but for me it was like, how is he being carried? like he's being carried right now. Just disbelief. And so I kind of walked/ran out. And then my friend Lisa, who unfortunately passed away in June, which is a whole other story, she's the one who followed me. And it was just that moment of I can't believe, because up until then we had viewed his body before, and in my head it was like, this is just a body, this is just a meat suit, he's no longer so when I viewed him the first time, it wasn't as emotional as seeing him being moved from where people were viewing into the house. That was where I was like, he's being carried, what is this? And so I had like a moment, and then once the songs started, I kind of walked/ran out, and Lisa followed, and that's when I just cried. But yeah, continue.
And then we just went down. We had everything that happened, so the mass, and then I think at that point I was fine. I was really okay until now my uncle stood up. I was like, oh my God. And then he just started talking about, this is a sad occasion, it's okay to cry. At that point, I don't know who started. All I know is we both fell. London Bridge, tulianguka, wakonyo, and then just crying. We're just full on sobbing. Full on sobbing. My brother's friend. Oh God!
Your mom was sitting in front of us, so she came.
It was sad, but also somewhat comical. It was a comical situation because we just started full on sobbing, and I know in your mask you're uncomfortable. So much was happening.
And I think that was also the point, maybe after he spoke, when they played the video of him.
Yes, because we'd done like a video collage.
Something.
And so we just cried and cried and cried, and then at some point, because we were now lowering the body, I think I shed a few tears at that point. But it was in the same.
I remember that moment at the grave is in my I remember it.
How was it from your point of view? Because for us we were.
Because I remember I was with your younger sister because I was put in charge of her. Yeah. So I stood with her for a couple of minutes, and then she told me, I don't want to be here anymore. So I had to take her away. But I remember looking to each of you. I looked at Waksy. Waksy was crying. I looked at your mom. Your mom was just...
She wasn't there.
Yeah, she wasn't. Yeah.
My mom.
Yeah. Your brother was collapsing. Yeah. But then I remember when I looked at Naweks, my heart broke. I was just like, oh my God. Yeah. I remember looking at... That image has never left me. You looked so defeated.
I remember even feeling, because I have different cries, and I think for me, the one that usually comes up when I'm most heartbroken is that I just falling, my tears are just falling.
It was silent,
I don't make any noise. And I just remember I could tell things were happening around me, but I just remember thinking, oh my God, Dad is dead.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this guy, I just remember deuces, he's gone. He's actually gone.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you actually, how am I here?
Yeah.
And because I think, was it maybe a year or two before we'd been there, we'd been in Navy.
Yes.
And actually it's so interesting because during that time, I don't know why, because this is something I never do, but during that time I'd taken a lot of photos and videos, and so actually some of those videos are what we used to come up with the collage and everything, because our family is not the full on, let's take photos all the time. So it was nice to be able to have those moments where I just remember thinking. And then my shosho, I have never seen my shosho cry ever. She was crying because she was seated, she couldn't stand up. She was just, I'm like, oh my God, how is this happening? How is this? And yeah, I was done. I was really, at that point, life had won. Life had won. I was down. And yeah, that's true. I was done. I was just so done. I didn't, and I'm also kind of glad because like no one tried to touch me or anything, because I don't think that's something I wanted at that moment. I wanted to just feel sad because my friend was gone.
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted to feel bad. I didn't want to hear it's gonna be okay. Like I know it's gonna be okay. I know, but I know. What? Actually, I remember telling, because as he was passing on, I remember just realizing, hiya, I'm still standing. How am I still breathing? Like, this should be I should not be alive right now. But I think after that, I was like, okay. I'm like, at something just told me it's gonna be okay. I was like, okay, cool, it's gonna be fine. But I knew the only way I could potentially get to that point of being fine is I just had to feel sad. I just had to feel sad for losing my friend. And so yeah, we just cried. And we continue to cry.
That's it, guys, we just cry.
Yeah, we continue
to cry.
You just continue it, and it feels really nice. It feels it's quite therapeutic. It's just a nice, it's one of those, it's part of the human experience. Yeah. It's just part of it, and it's sucky. It's really, really, really hard, but it's also kind of beautiful. Like to love someone that much, and to be loved by someone that much.
Yeah.
And to grow up in a house with that kind of love.
Yeah.
There's nothing quite like it.
Would you say, because we're going through a whole pandemic, he died smack in the middle of the pandemic, did that affect the grieving process in any way, or the way everything was done?
Honestly, I'm kind of glad about the restrictions, because see, Africa, this morning thing, the fact that we're able to have like time to ourselves as the immediate family, it made a huge difference. Actually, shout out to your mom. Tell your mom.
Yes,
please tell her. I know she'll hear this, but also just tell her, please, because it was the first night.
Yeah, she came and told us.
Yeah, and so she's basically the one who like told guys, okay, it's time for you guys to go home. And it gave us time as the immediate family to sit in this new reality, because at the end of the day, this is our life now, and we have to learn how to manage. We have to learn how to live with it. People won't always be there, and so it really helped. Even not having that stress of people are keshaing, people are here 24/7. And also the whole process, even the body being in the morgue, it was quite fast.
Yeah, the burial itself.
Yeah, actually,
and I remember actually chuckling to myself and thinking, Daddy,
he would have loved it. He hated long events.
You know, you would just look, he would just scratch his forehead like this.
Oh my God, yeah, you just know. Actually, if he starts doing this,
he's done.
Yeah. He's actually done.
I was like, the dad would love this. Perfect.
So I think it was perfect. I think it's what he would have wanted. I think everything happened as he would have liked it to happen, and that's more than I could have hoped for, honestly. Yeah.
Waksy, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I definitely agree to that it gave us time to be by ourselves in the evenings, which in hindsight made things easier once everything was done, because of course there's that period between when the person passes and the burial, and still a little bit after the burial people are still coming, but at some point they stop coming. And I realized I needed that silence. It was really, really hard for me the beginning, because you're confronted with, this really has happened. and I can't distract myself, which is part of the reason why I was drinking. But we had some nights where we would just sit as a family and talk about my dad, which I'm so glad we did, because it's very hard. It's very easy to be stuck in the sad moment and forget like he was a whole person with a whole life, and you've had happy moments and all of that stuff. So we would constantly have stories to share. At the same time, I really appreciated like the moments where people were there, because I suddenly realized, oh my God, this is why people have families. Like I had a moment where I was like, if Pauline wasn't here, if Atieno wasn't here, like I had a very real moment, and I think it was the day we were singing. I don't know.
We really sang.
I had a moment where I was like, my God, thank God for family, thank God for friends. So it was a little bit of both. I think it was a healthy balance of having people around and then just not having them around in the evenings. So I think it worked. Personally, it worked for me, where it's like you still have that support during the day, so they're coming, because nobody was thinking about cooking and nobody or cleaning. We were just literally living day to day, moment to moment. So for me, even now, I'm thinking about it. I keep thinking, how will I ever thank my family and friends? How will I ever express what they did for us? You know, I'm getting emotional. Because I don't know how people deal with this kind of loss alone. It's I said I wasn't gonna cry.
It's okay, we cry here.
So it was
too. We just continue
crying.
I just was so grateful to have people around, to you guys, to my friends. Yeah.
I think one of the funny things about that moment is you would expect that it was, of course it was sad.
Yeah.
But when I think about it, I'm like, there were also such happy moments in between.
Actually, because I had like friends who'd come, and I have a friend who actually came in when you guys are playing Uno.
Jenga.
Snakes and ladders, really. And I remember at some point, I think one of you won, and you were so like, and he was so surprised, like, wow, what's going on?
Like what a party.
Yes. And I even have like a friend of mine was like, you know, like, to be honest, this is, and I know it sounds weird, but like, this is the best mashaka I've ever been to. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, usually you go there and it's just depressing throughout, and you guys were there cracking jokes. I'm like, yeah, but that's how my family is. Like, that's how we are.
And that's literally my dad's spirit.
Yeah.
Like, we always joke and say, you know, some people don't understand finding the humor in things, but he was the king of that. God. You know,
at the most inappropriate, it's like, oh my God. And you know our laughs.
Yeah.
You know, when it's time to laugh, we really laugh. And so, and then usually it happens in sequence. So one of us will just look down, and then the rest follow, and we're just dying of laughter.
Yeah.
And it's such, now I view it as a blessing. Now I view it as a gift, because I don't know how you can go through like the ups and downs, especially the downs in life, because life can really bring you down.
Yeah.
How you can do that without like a sense of humor. I don't know how people do it. I laugh through my woes.
Yeah, maybe at that moment it's
laugh. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even when you look back, like, this is ridiculous. Like, how did this happen? How? So, I don't know. It was still an interesting experience.
How would each of you describe your grief?
An adventure.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I think it's still, like, I'm still on that path. When I look back on where I was at, was initially I thought I was like sleepwalking up until the burial, but I think I was still asleep for a long. I've been asleep for a couple of months now. So now it feels, even within my body, it's almost like I feel myself now. There's also so much gratitude. Like I mean, I've always loved food, but nowadays I taste food. It's like, oh my god. Nature and people, just loving people, like looking at my friends, I'm like, oh my god, I love these human beings.
Yeah.
So much. I cry a lot more. Oh my god.
I like how Waksy is just there. She's like an ad-lib.
I cry. I've cried probably the most that I've ever cried in my whole life. Like I cry nowadays, and it's so interesting because I think before there was like guilt and shame tied to like crying. Nowadays I don't care. I'm like, do I have Kleenex? Sour. I even tell people, yeah, I'll cry. I'm telling you, Ntalia too.
Sometimes you why is this making me
cry? Everything, and it's both like the good, like the super beautiful thing. I'm like I have this obsession of watching those compilations of faith in humanity restored. Oh my god, I just start crying at you. Wow, she saved the puppy. I just start crying. I'm like, yeah, an adventure. It's very interesting because I'm also glad to learn this version of myself because I don't think I've ever really interacted with this version of myself that's like soft and vulnerable and open, and it's an adventure.
Okay. Yeah. What about you, Waksy?
I think for me, I would say 2 words: wait, and it's a journey.
Wait, as in.
Yeah, wait,
because
I remember like wait, like
Zito. Oh, okay.
I remember the first maybe 6 weeks, just every minute. I think I said this to a couple of my friends. Every minute was like 6 emotions. I was almost hyper. In that way, we were different. Like no, I'm feeling gratitude, sadness. Like I was feeling many emotions in one each moment was so many emotions, and I would be so tired. So the first the 6 weeks I was sleeping a lot more. Like I was just feeling so many things, and then gradually it became less and less and less, and then I was feeling by maybe March of this year, I was feeling kind of like myself again, but it's the same as you, where I just was so grateful for everything. You know, that Nesquik I had in the morning, I just tasted. Because
it slaps.
It slaps. Because I remember just food tasting like cardboard for a long time, like after my dad passed. Yeah, I did. Actually, it was now our moms were like, I just wasn't interested. So I started to really feel more like myself, like somewhere in March. There were things that I said, and I keep saying to my friends who've lost a parent, that I never thought to say until I experienced it. So I've had moments with my friends and my friendships that have opened up our friendship, if that makes sense. We are kind of closer, and we share this bond of we've each lost someone. So that I'm so grateful for, of course, because I don't know if it's the same for you, but I'm not the same.
Yeah,
I'm just not. And that really tests your relationships, because a lot of I started to realize that I play a very particular role in my relationships. And suddenly I wasn't the strong one. And suddenly I wasn't the one you could come to. Suddenly I just couldn't do it. So it's been a journey of, again, same as you, like this new side to myself. I've always been the more emotional of the two. But it's like I just opened up. I was just like, let the sadness come, cry, let the happiness. It was just like, it opened me up. I've mentioned this before, but I lost my friend Lisa in June. So that was a different, I've been dealing with that a bit differently. And so I'm not where I was in March. So this is a new thing that has kind of been introduced. And so I'm still not where I feel like myself again. I'm grieving this new person now, and I haven't been able to be productive for a while. I just started maybe last week. So it's like 3 steps forward, 1 step back. It's not linear. I don't know even how else to explain it. Yeah. Yeah.
You really made me. I'm so sorry about your friend. Yeah, no, that's a lot. Fresh in grief, and then
so that has been
so unexpected.
I've had to freshly run to therapy, because it's almost like I reacted opposite to losing my dad, where I was in denial for a long time. The weeks leading up to her burial, I had to help her brother with a lot of things, so I didn't. Yeah, that's a whole different story.
You've both, I don't know if you did, you've mentioned therapy. Are you both doing therapy?
I was. I went in for my grief counseling, and I finished my sessions because I think I had like 6
somewhere around that
sessions, and just usually I avoid emotional situations. We know. Quick back. However, in this situation, I could not even lie to myself. I was like, I'm going to need help. And I think also because I'm not necessarily the most emotive person. And it's very easy for the outside world to assume that everything is fine with me when I'm in actual turmoil. And in this situation, I just had to go. I'm like, I need to see someone. I need to talk through this so that I don't end up losing my mind.
Yeah.
And so we got this lovely therapist, Riziki. Shout out to you. Oh my God, God bless you for real. And it was just nice to talk to her and sort through my grief. I really appreciated the questions that she asked, because I think we tend to tiptoe around heavy subjects. And I've never really been that good at tiptoeing. So I just say it. I prefer just say it. We just say it, even if it comes out clumsily. It just comes out, and then it's like, okay, so this happened. Yeah, so it was really nice because I also felt like she talked to me like a person, as opposed to, because that's something else I would never want this to be, okay, now this is my life. Like, this is not who I am. It's an experience that I've had, but it's not who I am. And so she spoke to me like a person. I was like, oh, okay. And just going through it. Towards the end, she was really happy with my progress. And I finished my sessions. And I'm so grateful for that, because I don't think I would have been able to handle it as well as I have without it. I think therapy is so important.
Shout out to therapy.
Because there's so many things you don't know about yourself, and even if you share it with the people that you care about and everything, there's only so far they can get to you. So just being able to sit down with someone who's a professional, like, this is their job, it makes a huge difference. And then also you don't have that feeling of, because I don't know about anyone else, but sometimes I feel guilty because I'm like, I'm putting too much on other people's shoulders. That's not really there. So you're just able to just talk freely, to just express yourself. So it was another interesting experience. I really enjoyed.
How about you, Waksy?
So I'm still going. I don't know if I should say. Because while we were doing grief counseling, I got diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. So yeah, just because of the pressure I felt being the oldest. Just a lot of things came up in the middle of me dealing with grief. So initially, already my sessions got increased, and then she stopped going and I kept going, and I'm also the one who took my sister, so I would sit in with my sister as well. So I'm still going, essentially. I'm still going into therapy. And then when I lost Lisa, it became regular again, because before it was like, oh, look, just come once every 6 weeks, we check your anxiety levels and all of that stuff. So now I'm having sessions either every week or every other week. And I agree with her, just being able to emote and talk about this is what happened, and not having to sort of be polite with it, or like omit some things because you don't want to step on people's toes, you don't want them to carry the weight of your grief. It was such a refreshing thing, because because I'm different from her in this sense, I'm more of a sharer. I was like, let's go. And I remember just looking at her and saying, I don't want to be 40 and having a breakdown in a club. I don't want to be 40. What do you do in a club? I don't know, midlife crisis. But I just remember thinking, oh God. Like I said, as it was happening, as my dad was passing away, I remember thinking, this is something I have to deal with. I have to take it in stride. Like I can't. This is not the moment to hide your emotions. This is not the moment to. This one is big. I remember just telling myself, this one is big and it's probably bigger than you. So whatever help you can get it. So that was very. It was a breath of fresh air. Some sessions were exhausting because you essentially are just you're talking about very deep things for a long period of time. And even now, because now we've gone back to, of course, dealing with grief and everything, it was exhausting, is exhausting, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. If you have the privilege of getting therapy, I highly endorse, like, even for people. I remember asking Riziki just the other day, let me ask you, when people are super happy, do they come to you? And she's like, no, they never. And I remember thinking, I'm gonna be coming. Like, this is my new boyfriend or whatever. I think it's so refreshing to have even just that unbiased perspective where they're helping you sort through, okay, this doesn't make sense to me. Why am I feeling this way? So it really helped. I know it helped my youngest sister, because the other day she came from school and said, Waksy, I was able to talk to so-and-so about dad and I was fine. Because the way she dealt with it initially was she bottled up. She didn't want to cry. She didn't want to think about it. She was basically in denial and she wanted to stay that way. It took a long time for her, even in therapy, to open up and be like, yeah, it's hard. I miss this about dad. And so I think overall it helped all of us. My brother also went, but he went to a different therapist. I think it's helped all of us just sort through the emotions. Yeah.
I love it when other people say it, because I think when a psychologist tells me, therapy is great, people are like, what do you mean? Yeah, but when you hear other people who've gone through it say it, it really helps a lot. Okay, ladies, final question. What, if anything, is bringing you comfort and joy, or has brought you comfort and joy through this period? You guys have the same thinking face.
Genetics. I think who my dad was brings me comfort and joy every single day. Who my mother is, she's tough. Hey, my mom, what? She's the one. Hey, she's the one. The people that I've been fortunate enough to have in my life, especially during this period in my life. I think just waking up every day, I'm so grateful to just, because there's so much to do with every day. Yeah.
Okay, Waksy.
I want to second the family thing. So I feel like how my dad lived. I'm so grateful he was my dad. Truly, I'm so grateful that he was my dad. Now I appreciate my mom so much more. Just like she said, my mom is something else. Because now you see different sides of your family when something like this happens. My siblings, I think if I didn't have these cartoons in my life, I don't know. What gives me comfort is also my friendships. Having the time to rediscover my relationships in a different way, because like I said, I'm not the same person. Learning to be, even though I'm emotional, because like I said before, I'd always been the strong one, but suddenly I wasn't, and it was such a sigh of relief when my friends stepped up, because I just could not. And it showed me and has shown me different sides to the people that are in my life, including myself. And I think, I'm just so grateful to have these people in my life. But I think the question was, what gives me comfort? I think,
You're doing fine.
I'm going back to, because I'm a creative person, I'm going back to doing my creative things. I just finished recording an album sometime this year, and I'm back to just drawing and doing things that give me joy creatively. I'm rediscovering new ways of expressing myself, which just gives me peace. You know how people are like, meditation, sit. For me, it's just using my hands, expressing myself. So just those things, knowing that I can be myself with the people in my life, and everything will be fine. Knowing that I'm really stronger than I thought I was, because the other day my mom was like, see, you're living without your dad. I don't know what you were talking about. But she kept
going back to that.
How am I going to say so it's just those things that seem little, but they make such a profound impact in your life, essentially.
Okay, thank you, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much for sharing that with me
You're
and
very welcome.
with the listeners. That's very brave. I think it's a hard thing to talk about our emotions.
Yeah.
Even for me,
Yeah.
I think it can be really difficult, especially hard emotions. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, so that's it for this episode in our series on grief and grieving, and I hope to see you next time.